Ms. Little, we'll start with you again. Somewhat different topic, so I'm going to ad-lib a little bit. Why has the Democratic Congress allowed other countries to join in the lawsuit against Arizona law? This is the immigration law. Other countries would never allow us to interfere with their internal problems. Even if you don't agree with the law, other countries should not be allowed to interfere with our problems.
I can't speak for the Democratic Congress, as I'm actually a Republican. I'm running against the Democratic Party. What I will tell you is that there are Democrats who support me, because they also disagree with the way this matter is being handled. Frankly, in Arizona, there is a public safety issue that is being dealt with very appropriately at the state level. The state has an obligation to keep its citizens safe and to keep its state borders, its sovereignty protected. I would argue that Arizona is presently under invasion by citizens of another nation and criminals, and they have to do something about it. Now, the Arizona law is almost verbatim identical to Section 287G of the Immigration and Nationality Act, wherein the federal government outlines that it needs help. And it wants that help from county, state, and local government officials. They did model the state law after 287G because they will not need to enter into a memorandum of agreement or receive your tax dollars from the federal level to handle their own state problem. They can pay for it out of their own state budget, and that's what that was about.
Excuse me a second. It's a well-known fact to any of us who study politics that incumbents are better at speaking over applause and booing than challengers. Those of you who are clapping more for Ms. Little, who seems pretty good at it, but she's probably not as experienced at it as her candidate here.
Okay. Excuse me. I'm the president of this congregation. It is my responsibility to make sure that we are all safe and within the confines of the local codes. Right now, I wouldn't bet that we're within the code. If you continue to act out,
Are you threatening to kick us out?
Yeah.
you will ask to give these people the respect that they both deserve and the respect that the League of Women Voters and this synagogue deserves. So I ask that you all remain quiet and listen. Thank you.
I agree.
Well, first of all, I think that the Arizona law was basically reacting to the fact that we need a better federal policy. We need to have federal legislation that deals with both immigration as well as enforcement. And what I've advocated, and I'll lay it out to you, is very similar to a bill that Senator Menendez has proposed in the Senate. And I have co-sponsored a similar bill in the House. And basically what it says is that for people who are here, undocumented, that if they've been here for a period of time, they register with the government, and then they get in line to become a citizen. They have to learn English, they have to pay taxes, they can't get in trouble with the law, and after a period of time, just like anyone else who applies for citizenship, they are then eligible for citizenship. Then at the same time, we crack down on the borders. We have better enforcement, we have more border controls, we have better technology to try to prevent people from coming here illegally. I think that the problem now is we have this crisis. We have so many people here who are undocumented. They can't go back because they've been here a long time. They're really Americans effectively. And certainly they're and at the same time, we continue to have a problem with the borders. So you pass legislation that has better enforcement, but allows those people who are here, who've done the right thing, to become citizens.
No.
The questions are written. You're welcome to write another question. No. Mr. Pallone first. And I'm not sure that this applies to you, Ms. Little. Why do you block research to stop research? Like, why do you block or stop research to cure and stop the pandemic of tick-borne disease?
Well, I haven't done that. I mean, as many of you know, I chair the Health Subcommittee of the Energy and Commerce Committee. It has jurisdiction over research at NIH as well as Medicare and almost any healthcare or food or FDA issues. The problem with autism is we have certainly, I'm sorry, you're talking about the Lyme disease. We have done quite a bit of research at NIH. And I think we certainly have to do more, which is, I think, what you're referring to. But there was a legislation that dealt with the protocols that would be used by certain physicians for Lyme disease. And we had a disagreement amongst the physician community as to what those protocols would be. And I don't think that Congress routinely should be telling physicians what to do and what protocols to follow. And that's, I think, the bill that you're referring to.
Do you want to comment on that?
I do. Ladies and gentlemen, we've got an issue with regard to health care in the United States. I believe the health care reform law that's been enacted is egregious. I believe that the congressman has been lax minimally and perhaps in blockage of not only Lyme disease, but pediatric acquired brain injury, which is shaken baby syndrome, and there are other diseases that are attached to that. I think this goes hand in hand with a very progressive approach to government top-down dictated health care, wherein life is not valued, treatment will be considered whether it is cost-effective or not. Government very much is, with the insurance companies, intruding right now today between me and my family, that means you and your family, and their health care. And for the congressman to tell us that he has not taken action because he feels government should not intrude is very duplicitous, as he authored the health care law, which is a bigger intrusion than what we are asking him to do as far as research.
Amen.
Excuse me, I have a policeman outside in the Aberdeen Police Department. There are cars parked within 50 feet of a stop sign on both sides of the street, and they will be ticketed unless they're moved. It's up to you.
Thank you.
From the same person, first to Ms. Little. Well, let me reword it. Do you support cap and trade, including reduced defense spending?
Okay, I don't support cap and trade. It's a shell game. It does not help the environment. It allows corporate entities who perhaps have political connections to some in politics to avoid compliance with regulations that exist. This is not a solution to our environmental issues. I am very pro-environment. I sponsored the only active environmental commission in the Borough of Highlands, which costs nothing to the taxpayers, is an advisory committee, and is holding the feet to the fire of both Exxon and NJDEP as we speak for a gasoline spill that's existed for more than a decade on the hill at Bayside Drive. I also participated actively in the Baykeepers Oyster Reseeding Project as an oyster gardener before I entered elected office. Very educational program which I recommend for everybody's child as well as themselves. I will go one step further on cap and trade. It's again top-down government control, ladies and gentlemen. You're paying taxes to administer these controls. You're also paying taxes for the credits that are going to be used by these corporations. So for the congressman to tell you that he's for the middle class and that he's against these big corporations, but to support cap and trade is again duplicitous. Thank you.
Well, I mean, let me point out, it's obvious that Ms. Little would not support cap and trade because, first of all, she she doesn't believe that there's any problem with global warming. She's in the Star Ledger saying that she believes that climate change is a hoax. She also says she doesn't believe that government should be regulating business in any way. So I take that to mean that there would be no reason to regulate utilities because of the carbon emissions, because first of all, there isn't a problem with global warming, even though there are thousands of scientists and everyone basically who's analyzed this in a scientific way says that it is a problem. But it really doesn't matter because she wouldn't regulate any of the businesses that cause the carbon emissions and the pollution in any case. She obviously wouldn't regulate emissions coming from utilities. She would let the oil companies drill. She would let anyone, any business or industry simply
What would you do?
pollute the environment. So I have been a strong supporter of cap and trade. It came out of the Energy and Commerce Committee, which is one of my committees. We passed it in the House as a way of not only addressing global warming, but also trying to create energy independence. We can't continue to rely on Mideast oil. We have to clean up the atmosphere. We have to move towards renewables like windmills and solar and geothermal, and we should make those things in America and create jobs.
How about some questions about it? There's a lot of children.
And I will get some.
I hope you will.
Mr. Pallone first. I will read the question and I'd like to broaden it a little bit. Explain how your office aides answer telephone callers who object to national health care. If you could elaborate both on the question and also on a slight elaboration of how your office aides answer telephone calls, period.
Well, as you know, I'm one of the authors of the healthcare reform bill. And I know that when people call my office, they're basically told that I support the legislation because I authored it. I'm sorry. I said I know that. Is that better? No. I know that when residents call my office and ask about the healthcare reform bill, they can get a very detailed analysis of it because we authored it and we're very familiar with it. We do have two offices, one in New Brunswick and one in Long Branch as well as in Washington. And if people call the office for any matter, whether it's healthcare, Medicare, veterans, will gladly take care of their constituent requests.
I can tell you as your congresswoman, I will not only answer your telephone calls or return them myself, but we will have monthly meetings and I will report to you exactly what's going on in Washington. I will take your input back to Washington and your voice will be heard on the floor in Congress.